ahead and stick to what we've been doing for a bit here. Excuse the poor camera work while I get this set up. We have, we're going to do a little abstract piece today again because we're in between projects. I do have a home portrait commission I got to get moving on, but we're going to stick with this early morning process. It's been pretty helpful, and they've gotten a pretty good response from it too. So we're going to be using the smoother side of a Canson watercolor sheet of paper, 7" by 10". And we've had a good productive week, a lot of abstract work, which is it's growing on me because I find that I'm learning a lot, which is helping my landscape paintings quite a bit. But for the past couple days, we've been able to get these done, and we've experimented with textures and the interplay of different media, and it's been a lot of fun. We're going to do a similar thing today. We have really humble inspiration that we're going to be working from. I'm going to set these aside here. Before I show you my inspiration, I wanted to show you yesterday. I had a pretty good day. We were able to pick up our kids from college, and I took a vacation day, even though I ended up working still. And I was able to do some mini plein air paintings. It was a gray day where I was in Williamsport. So I had aspirations of really kind of diving deep in some of the scenery that's available there along the Susquehanna River. But it was cloudy and rainy, so I banged these out pretty quickly in between other stuff. And this is one of the views from the Riverwalk in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The good news is every time you do this, just like I've done here locally in the Poconos, you kind of learn a little bit more about where kind of interesting sites are and interesting scenes. And I shifted gears and went up to Millionaire's Row and just explored a little bit and found a nice little park called Ways Park, I believe, and uh, noticed the nice view of Trinity Episcopal Church, and just sat in the park and went ahead and painted. So um, this is my primary kind of means of producing art. If I had to choose, this is how I would spend my time creatively. But it's good to diversify, and I've been doing these abstract pieces. And here's my humble inspiration for today. So we'll get started in a second, but I had this little scrap piece of paper, um, which I use for a lot of my ink. I do a lot of ballpoint pen portraits. If you watch the channel, you may already be aware of that. So I'll do little line-based portraits with multicolor ballpoint pen, usually of iconic creators. It's just a nice low-risk way to practice portraiture work and kind of get some creative time down. But this is so I scribble little test marks just to make sure. Sometimes ballpoint pen, especially an expensive ballpoint pen, gets skunked up. So I'll scribble, and this has been laying to the side here. And when I do these abstract pieces, the splatters have accidentally ended up there. So I just love the interplay between these hard squiggly lines. Kind of reminds me of a Twombly piece, if you will. And then the splatters that kind of diffuse these hard squiggly lines. So we're going to use that as a little bit of inspiration for what we create today. I'm going to go ahead and tape this watercolor paper down to my drawing board. And by the way, appreciate you joining. This is my open studio live stream. Trying to do this as consistently as I can, just about every day, usually early in the morning, between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, yeah, I'm always been a little bit of an early bird. So just not a lot of explanation normally once we get going. Just invite you in to watch me and my process if you're interested. So I'm putting this tape on really for two reasons. One, I don't want to run into problems with the paper curling up if I choose to use wet water-based medium. Sometimes as it soaks into the paper will curl. So this will keep that from happening while I'm working, and then it also provides for a nice border when we pull the tape off later on. So Atticus Hayes, hi, thanks for joining. Welcome to my studio. So open studio live stream. Once I get cooking here, probably be pretty quiet, but you'll get to watch the process by which I'll create a mixed media abstract piece here on my 7-inch by 10-inch sheet of watercolor paper. And the feedback I've gotten on these live stream sessions, especially when I've done kind of like these stream of consciousness abstract pieces, has been positive. I think it's not really a goal of mine, but some folks have said it's kind of helped them get motivated just to create without a specific objective in mind. You know, I tend to do a lot of literal landscape paintings. That's where I'm drawn to, things like this and larger scale things. But this is just a great way to get the creative flow going. So that's what we're going to do today. And once again, my very humble inspiration is my scrap piece of paper that I have alongside of my drawing on my table here that I typically use when I'm doing. If you check out my shorts section, the tab on my channel, you'll find if you scroll through a lot of time-lapsed portrait work in ballpoint pen. So when I'm working on those, I just put these little scribbles here, and once again, I noticed the little diffusion. Yeah, kind of a la Jackson Pollock, and Jackson Pollock meets Twombly. Thanks, Atticus. I appreciate you saying that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I appreciate you watching. I'm going to go ahead and get my ballpoint pen going. And we're going to go ahead. We'll start with, I usually start with orange or purple. And that's because from a values perspective, those are pretty, especially the orange is a lighter value. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Whoops, little accidental mark. That's okay. Okay, so we're just going to start stream of conscious. No, no real conscious thought in mind. I'm trying to get out of my head a little bit, which is a good thing. And I'm just going to focus on breathing while I do this. So hopefully you forgive me. I'm not able to respond via comments. I might vocally acknowledge your comment for now, but I'm a one-man band here, so while I'm working, I won't be able to reply too much. So hopefully you'll forgive me for that. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to switch to purple, and maybe I will do. Oops. There we go. Maybe I'll do some kind of radiating lines, some waves. Maybe I'll go to green. Just reacting to what's already down on the paper. All right. Then I'll go to red. I'm going to go back to some of those squiggly lines. Let's see. There we go. I don't want to think too much. All right. I'm going to keep going here. And I'm going to start working in some more purple. Let's see. And I'll come through here maybe with a little bit of watercolor, wet medium, and start maybe with some acrylic with some print related designs to kind of diffuse all this stuff and play around with things. But whatever happens, happens. Stream of consciousness. There's really never excuse not to create. Hi, Atticus. Hi, everybody. Thank you. All right. So let's see. I'm going to come through again, maybe with a little bit of blue. I haven't had any blue on here. And like I mentioned, the more literal work that I'll do. So something like, something like this pastel drawing that I did on site on Plein Air. This would be how I would choose to spend my time most of the time. But life doesn't always present those opportunities to get out and do this sort of thing. And this is wonderful for me, but so is this. Um, and it also gives me an opportunity to learn and experiment. So actually, that pastel piece that I have that I just showed you, I actually have a full-length video in the video tab of the channel here, where I actually show you where I went hiking, went on a brief hike, and set up and painted on the banks of Cherry Creek and Broadhead Creek, where they spill into the Delaware River, not far from the Delaware Water Gap. So you can watch that video if you want to check out the process by which I created that piece I just showed you. I don't know if that's your name, Atticus Hayes, but that's I see your screen name, so I'm just acknowledging that. I hope that's okay. All right. So lots of layers of scribbles. Get some green in there. Let me concentrate that in just a couple of areas. Mm-hmm. All right. We get a little bit of water. I'll be right back. Gotta be careful. Last time I used splatters with my watercolor, I got it all over everything, including some finished pieces that I have hanging on the wall here in the studio. Most of them I can fix. So just want to be careful. All right, so I like the effect of, let's see, I'm going to start with orange. I'm going to go from light to dark with the watercolor and get it nice and wet here. And get this brush saturated. It's a real problem. Sometimes the splatters come up, and I got them on my camera lens. Just part of the process, I guess. Nothing I can do about it. Yeah, if you're ever interested in checking out my finished pieces that are available for purchase, you could check out my website, thomasmichaelneiman.com. I have a shop there. There's pieces available just about in every price range. So, and I also teach workshops. So through Orbital and the Allentown Art Group, and also my AirBnB Experience provider. Teach Plein Air workshops there on AirBnB Experience, and also creative visual journaling, which will incorporate a lot of the things that I do in these sessions. So once again, very humble inspiration here by a little scrap paper, and we're gonna kind of head down the path of continuing to let that be our inspiration. Probably gonna mask. Yeah, I think I'll mask this. I'll just lay that there for some of the next wave of splatters. And I will go with kind of a peachy. Actually, you know what? Sorry, this is more like a cadmium red. Get a little bit more water going. It's like a cadmium red medium or light equivalent here. Alright, and then we'll go with a little magenta. Alright. I'm going to flip this board just so any additional splatters might come from a different angle. And I might get a little paper towel here. Dry up some of those splatters, in particular the ones along the tape. All right. Now, maybe, just maybe, use a little bit of charcoal. And then All right, I think I'm going to use, um, I'm going to find myself a nice little disc that I'm going to use to make some circular print marks um, with a little bit of acrylic paint. So just bear with me here. Okay, I got it. This is a plastic cap from a tube of glue, and I think this is a good size for this particular piece. I'll get the acrylic paint on my little wooden disc here, and I'll use that as my stamping pad. And I think that's the next step here. So I'm going to get some acrylic paint. I'm going to start with one of my favorite colors, which is transparent orange oxide. It's got a little bit on there for starters. Okay, there we go. It's kind of a funny sound. Alrighty. Alright, so I'm going to wipe all this off. And I'm probably going to use maybe a cooler color in this area. Bear with me, I'll be right back. Alright, I have a phthalo blue, which I need to be very careful with because it's a color that loves to dominate. Very strong color. So we're going to go ahead and start incorporating some circular marks. I might mix in a little bit of, you know what, let's go with it. Yeah, that's fine. Wow, there's a lot going on here. As far as a lot of marks, a lot of patterns within a relatively short period of time here. About 30 minutes. All right. Now, where to go from here? I'm not sure. I'll wipe off this disc. Set it aside. I might just react to some of these marks with some watercolor. My trusty, inexpensive pan style watercolors. And maybe within a few of these dots, we'll get a few of these circles, get some watery watercolor mixtures together, and let's go with a little bit of like lemon yellow and see what happens. A nice watery mix lemon yellow right here. Kind of interesting. Keep going with that. Let's see right here. So right here. Just reacting to what's already down on the paper with no plan in mind. Let's see. Maybe, yeah, maybe this guy here. Okay. We'll try one or two other colors like this. And I think we'll be close to done. Alright, so maybe within these blues, we'll get a nice bright green. Maybe like this chartreuse type color. Just want to get, there we go. Try this. You know what, I want to go a little bit of a darker green. So I'll get that mixed in, just a little darker. Yeah, there we go. Here. Just responding to what's already down and kind of letting my imagination go. Here. Yeah, and a piece like this may never see the light of day again. Might go into a drawer someplace, or maybe it'll get framed and hung up someplace. Who knows? All right. And then, yeah, let's maybe one more, or maybe a partial one. There we go. Do this little space right here. Now, believe in the power of three. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe do a color in between the yellow and the green, or something totally different. And maybe I'll do a little magenta or purple. Yeah, maybe the magenta. I think that could work. It's just my gut, but we'll see. And yeah, maybe that'll be too wet. Get some of these. Here. Oops. Let's do that again. Oh, where else? Where else? Where else? I think that's good. I feel like maybe something right in here. And maybe a few additional splatters or droplets kind of haphazardly. Just connecting some of these areas a little bit. And same maybe with the green. All right. And then, yeah, I'll do a few more of these yellow ones. Yes. Yeah, just a few more. This one here. And let those lines show through. We'll get maybe a little gradient going here. We'll get kind of an orangey yellow for this area. All right. Maybe a dark purple. For maybe one or two of these circles toward the bottom. Very transparent so you can see the lines. Yeah, I like that. I might dab some of those marks. I don't necessarily want them to be quite as saturated as they are. And the same with these. Okay. Then I'll let this dry a little bit. I think what I might do is, let's see, you know what? I might get a little bit of white gesso and break up some of this area before we wrap up. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off my little mark maker here, which is a glue cap. And I'm going to get some white gesso on paper, and we're just going to diffuse some of that. So let's see. Bear with me here. Just putting a little white gesso on my paper here. And we're going to stamp out a few. There we go. So this is just white gesso. Acrylic gesso. This is what I'll use as like the base coat for paintings that I do on some of the plein air panels that I create, large and small. All right. Get a few more of these going. Make sure I don't overdo it. All right. I think we'll probably leave it there. I'm going to go ahead and pull the tape off. And we'll see what we have. All right. Oops. Moving a little too fast there. Ripping the paper. There we go. So there it is. Our stream of consciousness abstract mixed media art piece here, and with any bit of luck we'll be back tomorrow with our open studio live stream. We might be working on a commission for that particular session. We'll see. Might do another one of these, but thanks for checking out my open studio live stream. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We'll try to do these just about every day. And we also have some educational content, book reviews, and painting demonstrations and that sort of thing available on the channel under the video tile. Check out some of the playlists and make sure you like the video content I put out there. If you do like it, I appreciate that. It'll help extend the reach of the channel. In any event, I hope you have a great day. Stay well, and we'll hopefully see you again sometime soon.